We didn't get to where we are as the United States of America by having the government come to save us every time we're in trouble. We got out of it because we're the most, because of our personal ingenuity and our hard work ethic and all those things that have made us Americans. That's why we're a great country. And if we start depending on the government to take care of everything and save us, then we're going down, folks. He wants to keep talking about the state of Georgia, but you know what we do in the state of Georgia? We balance the budget every year. Let me tell you. 18 years in Congress, they ain't never balanced the budget. It doesn't look like they're going to balance one down. Let me tell you something. Well, we don't even have a budget. I said that a while ago. Let me tell you something. Okay. We're about the business in Georgia. You have to make tough cuts. And we make tough cuts all the time. $4 billion out of the budget in the last 2 years in the midst of an economic crisis like we haven't seen in forever, and you know that. You make tough cuts, but you balance the budget. 7,000 state jobs gone in Georgia in the last 2 years. But still, we're just growing the federal government. You know, we have to give a grasp on it. We can create jobs, put the money in the hands of the people. Let's get a tax code where to let us keep the money in our pocket, and then we'll be able to move on and we'll have businesses.
I'd like to hear him say he wants to cut taxes, but he's raising taxes. He's raising taxes. He raised the taxes in making the hard choices. He made a decision that he wanted to take away the homeowners tax relief grant, which was saving taxes $200 to $300 a year for the average local and school property tax bill. And instead, he was going to give that money, that tax break, to the insurance companies so they won't have to pay as much tax on their health insurance premiums that they collect. I don't know. Those are some choices, but I think that's a very, very instructive comment that was made. You have to make tough choices, and I just don't think the choices ought to be made on the backs of our children and our school children. I would much rather see the insurance companies, those corporations, have to take the cut than to see our youngsters in schools have to take the cut. Because, you know, when they cut back and they have to cut back the school day, that means that we already have school for 180 days a year. Our competitors in the global marketplace have school for 200 to 225 days a year. In Japan, they're even going to 13 hours a day. And our youngsters are not doing the reading, they're not doing the mathematics, the engineering, and the science that we need if we're going to compete in the global marketplace in the future. So we have got to invest in our kids.
Let's move on to another question here so that we can get through all these.
Hi, my name is Lazy Bob. I'm pretty much the brains behind the morning ride, and I often get asked, what is my favorite part about working on the morning show with Ryder and Coley? It has to be when I capture moments like this.
I'd like for each of you to explain your position on health care reform, how you arrived at it, and what changes, if any, you would like to make to the new law. And we'll start with you, Mr. Bishop.
Thank you. The health care bill is something that has been sought for over 100 years. Teddy Roosevelt started back in his day, and each president and each Congress since then has tried to accomplish a health care reform that would allow every American to have access to affordable, accessible health care regardless of their ability to pay, regardless of their pre-existing conditions, and regardless of where they lived.
Did you read it?
I read every single line of it, and I studied it very carefully. I had 6 town hall meetings where I discussed it with the constituents who attended, and I listened to thousands and thousands of comments about it. So let me just say this. It's not a perfect bill, but it is a bill that I think is a foundation for health care for every American. No longer will insurance companies be able to deny coverage because you have cancer, diabetes, or hypertension, or have had stroke or heart attack. No longer will they be able to cancel your insurance if you get those conditions. No longer will they be able to charge you out-of-pocket expenses over $10,000. This will limit the out-of-pocket expenses. We've got some 12,000 small businesses in this congressional district who will be able to have assistance in purchasing, helping to purchase health insurance for their employees. Under this bill, for parents who have youngsters who turn 21, they can stay on their parents' insurance now until they're 26. For senior citizens who are on Medicare who have to worry about their prescription drugs, they can now know that that donut hole will be filled. $250 this year, 50% next year, by 2020 it will be totally empty. They will not have to pick up those costs. Families will not have to go bankrupt. Some 5,000 families went bankrupt in 2008 in this congressional district because they could not afford the hospital bills. There'll be a $10,000 annual limit on your out-of-pocket expenses. There are so many people in this country and in the 2nd Congressional District who don't have access to primary care. Community health centers will be improved. They will be able to double their capacity so that primary care will be, and my grandmother said that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Come on! If you get screenings early enough, and under the bill, our seniors on Medicare won't have to worry about paying out-of-pocket expenses for their screenings. They will be free. It's part of the package. So when you look at all of the pros and the cons, I came to the conclusion that it wasn't perfect, but it was much better than what we had with the skyrocketing costs. First step, we move forward each year as we can. But we've been able to accomplish what has not been accomplished over 100 years. I'm proud of that. I make no apology for it because I learned in the 35th chapter of Matthew, abortion is not in the bill. When I was sick, you ministered unto me. I believe that it is my Christian duty to make sure that every American, every Georgian, and every person in the 2nd Congressional District has the opportunity to get health care and have a better life if they get sick without worrying about that. No longer, under this bill, will women be able to be charged more for their health insurance premiums than men.
Mr. Lastinger, you had a comment you wanted to make before we moved on?
Yeah, the last few minutes I've started to hear some pretty choice stuff coming out of the crowd. And I'm going to encourage you to tone that down because the last thing I want to do tomorrow is spend part of my day being interviewed by Bill O'Reilly and Keith Overman about how chaos ensued in Thomasville. So please tone some of that stuff down. And really, I implore the candidates, we've got some more questions. Please try to tighten up those answers just a little bit.
All right. We're going to try to keep our answers to 3 minutes or less if we could, gentlemen. That way we can get through all of this. You will now have an opportunity at the end of my questions to ask questions of both of these candidates. So if you can just hold your comments and your questions until then, you will have an opportunity to speak at the end of these questions. We're going to throw this question over to Mr. Keown. Explain your position on health care reform, how you arrived at that, and what changes, if any, you would like to make to the new health care reform law.
You know, I think we all know that we need health care reform. We know that. But I want to tell you, this is not a perfect bill, as the Congressman said. This is a disastrous bill. It is probably one of the most fiscally irresponsible things we've ever done as far as government. We've thrown our country into a situation where we're never going to be able to pay for this. And sure, it's great to put all these people on, you know, to do all these things we're talking about doing, that he's talking about doing. But who's paying the bill? I don't know about you. I'm on my wife's, I'm on my own state merit insurance. I got a little thing in the mail this week. You know what it said? It says it's going up. It's going up. You know why it's going up? Because it's new health care regulation. That's exactly why it says. I thought it was supposed to be cheap, but no, it's going up. And the reason is because somebody has to pay the bill. You cannot put that many people on a health care program and expect it just to go away. Somebody has to pay the bill. 2,500 page bill, folks. Who in the right mind needs a 2,500 page bill? We can do some incremental steps in health care reform. Take care of pre-existing conditions in a 20-page bill. Take care of portability in another bill. We can do those where everybody can read them and understand them and vote on them. What's in that 25-page bill is all that other mess they wanted to hide. It's all the buyouts they had to put in there to make sure that they get it passed. And I'll tell you something, Congressman, if you're going to be up there and you're going to wheel and deal like you like to do, next time get us a deal. We need a Nebraska deal or something like that. Do something for them, okay?
All right, Mr. Bishop, you have 2 minutes to make a rebuttal, please.
The Nebraska deal was negated, so was the Louisiana Purchase. We have different rules in the House of Representatives than they have in the Senate. And you might take note of the fact that in the House, when the House deliberated, it was done on C-SPAN, it was done in the open, and there were open hearings. And you might also note that when there were controversies involving it, several of us who were in the Blue Dogs, we insisted that we not vote on it before the August recess, and so we came home during the August recess so that we could have town hall meetings and hear from the public. And what we did in those town hall meetings was to take that information that we got, take it back to Washington, and many of those constructive suggestions were incorporated into the bill. There were a number of very, very constructive comments that were made that we were able to take back and get incorporated into the bill. Where we didn't have disruptions in those meetings, we were able to get some, I thought, some very constructive things out of it. It's not a perfect bill, as I indicated. There are things that should have been in there that weren't. I wish that we had been able to do more to protect defensive medicine. Doctors are having to bend over backwards and spend more money and more effort than they need to avoid litigation. We should have, and I wish that we'd been able to get enough folks to deal with that issue. But you had 535 people, 535 minds trying to come to a consensus on a bill. 85% of what was in that bill was agreed upon by everybody. It was the 15% that caused the controversy and caused the disagreement. I hope that at some point we will be able to work collegially across party lines in the interest of the American people so that we can solve the problems that face us. Healthcare is an issue that is not Democrat or Republican. It's America. And we have got to take our place with our other industrial partners who have healthcare for all their citizens.
I just say repeal the bill.